Okay, let's get started here. I think I have it right here. Okay. All right, let's get into this. Okay. All right, here's some tips for this time of the year for from 25 years of experience for students this week. And I want to have a parent-only meeting real soon, probably in the next 10 to 14 days. We'll say more about that toward the end. So for students, watch for academic senioritis, because teachers seem to get very interesting assignments at the end of the year. Every year I have one or two people that, may fail or get a D in something the last semester because some teacher won't let them make up something or something goes wrong. Try to make sure it's not you. Those are always pretty sad because that stops you from going to college, going to four-year college anyway. It's usually English or AP English, or I've seen government classes do it too in weird cases. But usually it's that English class. It's never math because usually people are above Algebra 2, so they can usually avoid the issue. But with UC, that could be an issue. So I should probably not skip over this quickly. If you're going to UC, around about July, you're going to send your final transcript, and they won't tell you till August. They could have a problem with it. So I hope any Ds are going to get resolved. Any classes you're having trouble with, talk to the teacher now. Don't wait. Remember, we're a math and science center of excellence. We would expect to hear from you at our homework club if there's any issues. CSU, same way. But you see more so. They're going to want to see that last grade report. It needs to be the same or a little better than before. If it slipped in any way, that could be a problem with UC. I got a couple of you now. It's either logged in who are UC. Guard your relationships closely right now, this time of year. To be very blunt with you, I'll have more to say about it later, especially you have relationships, friendships with the opposite sex. You guys are getting ready to be separated, maybe. Guard yourself. Don't make any decisions you wouldn't normally make. That seems to be something each year that I get a call on, or it's an issue. So be careful. All right. Next, remember to respect your parents. That's, it's you guys are becoming adults. It's kind of hard, but because the relationship's changing, and parents, I know the same thing with you, but remember to honor and respect your parents, especially in how you speak with them. Remember, I used to tell my kids, you weren't born with instructions on your back. So we make mistakes. We're human beings. I know I did. I do. I hope I corrected all of them or whatever, but we're not perfect. So respect your parents. And Mother's Day is coming up. Some of them mothers are getting ready to go into debt for you. Remember it's Mother's Day. Let's leave it alone next Sunday. Start thinking about your career. Start doing things just for career reasons. Go to workshop, go out to see things, talk to people in your profession. I'll be providing a lot of opportunities in that area this summer, but start to think about your career. And most of all, remember your family values. We'll maybe say a word about that during this meeting. I'm not sure. But remember your family values. That's very important this time of year as well. With all the stuff going on with some of your friends' lives, and it may be hard to do, but just remember your family's values, especially when you go away to college, I would say. Let's look at the enrollment process steps in a most unusual way. I redid all these view graphs. I hope they provide good information. First of all, there's admission acceptance. There's assessing the college costs, which I hope you've done. I have a few more words to say about that. That's why it's in red. Housing deposit or orientation deposit, applying for loans. Don't put off applying for loans. If you're already in the school, you know you're going to need loans, do it now. I'll show you how to do it now. Actually, I'll talk about it. Talk to your schools, but I'll talk about it. I didn't put that view graph in here, but I am going to talk about it. Arrange for travel to orientation. Start thinking now about who's going to go to orientation, travel there, get your tickets early. If you get your flights or tickets early, they're very cheap right now. If you wait to the last minute, they're super high. That's the condition of the airline industry right now. Class registration and make your payment, your first payment, if there's no parent loan. If there's a parent loan, you'll avoid the first payment. You'll be taken out of the loan. We'll have more to say about that. Then college move-in, start thinking about the logistics of that. Who's going to go, how you're getting there. I have some tips on logistics. You don't have to take nearly the amount of things you think. You should purchase everything locally if you can, or have it shipped. Once you find out you can put in the dorm. I'll have a parent here who's my move-in specialist to talk about that probably in about 2 weeks. Yeah, about 2-3 weeks. Maybe in the parent-only session is where I'll do that. That will be probably the way to go. Okay, defining two important terms. Direct costs are the expenses on the bill or the fixed costs. A lot of times parents think books and things like they're not fixed costs. It's what's going to be on the bill. Tuition and mandatory fees, room and board. That's it. That's all you should be looking at right now when you're assessing the cost of a school. All that other stuff is the same from school to school. So you're going to spend it regardless. And you see in a moment why there's another reason why you shouldn't necessarily worry about it. Because the direct cost is up to 90% of the total cost of attending a university. The other 10% is not usually going to be what gets you, because you're going to amortize it over the year. Even for the most expensive schools, it's stretched out over the entire year. Indirect costs, other costs that are not on the bill, speaking of being stretched out, the controllable costs are what we call the amortized costs, meaning it can be stretched out over the year. It's not going to hit you all at once on that bill. Now, those schools show that as a cost, and it scares parents because, oh, look at that. Well, but remember, you're going to pay it as you go through the year. It's probably going to be $40 to $70 a week hit on you. I mean, that's a hit, but it's not going to be a non-manageable hit on your finances. Books, personal expenses, transportation, other fees. If they're local, the transportation fee is significantly reduced. Okay, direct costs are expenses on the bill. Like I said, the parents worry about both of these, direct and indirect, but only the direct cost really matters. What's going to be on that bill? That's what's going to matter. Parents always pay these from home operating funds and for some small scholarships. Students can pick up these indirect costs. That's that other 10%, 10 to 12%, 15%. It's picked up usually by the house operating funds. Because even if a school is, $60,000, $6,000 stretched out over the period of the 10 months, it's up to about $500 a month, if that. Actually, it's usually way lower than that. That's for the most expensive places, but even then, your personal expenses can be very low with planning. There were times I was spending about 60 a week, 60 every other week on my daughter. She got some day-to-day funds from the family, had a small scholarship. I didn't put that much into it for indirect costs. They can get a job to make up part of it, all that. Later on, second semester, maybe not first. This is the way you might be looking at the situation. You might look to see it all. You tend to look at the thing, you see the financial aid award, you see everything on there, especially those costs at the bottom. This, for example, is a $68,000 to $70,000 school. I just didn't label it. I just made this one up, right? And, you see everything on there, but this is not the way you should really look at it. And I know they show it to you that way, so that's the way you want to look at it. But you should not look at it that way. I keep stressing that it's the bill and the other stuff will take care of itself. But the bill is what you should worry about, the fixed price. Here's the way it is. At same school, I blocked out work, study, and plus loans. I blocked out books, transportation, personal expenses, and it's 18,000. Now, in this particular example, it's not terribly different, right? But it does provide a little more information, get you to understand what it is. I purposely made it be about the same either way, that the black boxes were a wash, but I could have changed it. And the next one will make a significant difference. So see it the way it is. If you see it this way, a lot of stuff on there. You're worried about everything. I would worry about everything if I saw this, especially if it was my first student in college. Even my second, I would start thinking about, oh, I'm going to owe this and that. And turns out, if you follow closely and stay on time, these the books and transportation for sure could be way lower. So they're controllable. It's all in how you want to run your house, when you buy tickets, when you do certain things, how you do certain things. All right, so this is the way it is on that one. Now here's another one. Here's the way you might be looking at this. You look at this and you owe 23,800. You don't think it's so bad. But look a little closer. What you should see, let me this came back up for some reason. What you should see, and there you go. Now you owe $54,000 for the same school, because turns out there was a very large parent loan there, right? If you have a very large parent loan showing, when you look at reality, it's $54,000. And that would be really your parent loan. The parent loan is much higher. And schools play games like that on the financial aid award. Some don't show the parent loan, some do. Some do, but it's the wrong number. Some do a very low number. You just got to block that out and see what it's really going to cost. And here's another good one for you too. Try to use the same rules when you're comparing schools. This next chart will show that. But this is where it all begins. You want to understand the rules for how you determine the cost for an individual school first. Okay? So there's the way it looked and the way it really was. You see, it's $54,000. I got it on 2 lines. Why did I do that? I don't know. All right. If there's any question, you can speak right up. Just really get a sense of what your parent loan really needs to be. That's, you want to, because it turns out that coming back a second time for the parent loan can many times be problematic. You want to get the right amount the first time. You want to err to the side of getting a little more if you're not sure, because you're going to have to do a parent loan with these schools, especially if you have a situation where you have high income in the presence of a private school, or certainly a UC too. You're probably going to have to take out a parent loan, unless you save money. If you save money up, you won't have to. But usually you got to do it. And the question is what the amount should be. And this is the way you figure it out. When you're comparing schools, and I have a comparison between a CSU and a private school. When you're comparing schools, compare apples and apples. Don't kind of put your finger on the scale for one or the other. Don't not list something for one, but do list it for the other. Don't list the student loan for one, but do it for the other. Either have it on both or have it on neither, the student loan. I have more to say about student loans in a minute. Try to be consistent in how you're adding up the costs. It's very, very important when you're comparing schools to compare them equally. I saw one the other day where it was very interesting. I never thought of this, but the school was saying housing, but not food. And this year, food is pretty high. So a lot of schools are hiding the food. I looked at a couple other ones, and yeah, schools are hiding the fact that food is up to $8,000, $7,000 for the whole year. It's never been that high. In all my time doing this, food has never been that high in over 20 years of doing this. And it is super high. So a lot of schools will take that food out and just say housing. Okay, so now you're not comparing apples and apples if one school says housing and board and they include it as one number. Like CSU, they always show room and board as one number. It'll be $16,000 to $20,000, that one number. But the tuition fees are only $6,000. Whereas for a private school, it could be $67,000 $65,000, $60,000. It's usually 10 times, it's up to 10 times the amount of CSU. But do you get 10 times the financial aid? I mean, even though the student got a $35,000 merit award, they're still going to owe $42,000 to go to this private school. And I copied this down. I had this particular private school came up 9 or 10 times, so I just used the numbers from the one I saw. This is a family, this particular one, that's making about $90,000 a year, which is not uncommon in California. Okay, this is why the Cal grant is so low on this student. Okay. Enrollment process steps. Housing deposit, orientation deposit. Well, this meeting's going along. Well, I should stop. I don't have any let me look at that. Any questions out there or? Okay, let's see. They even put 3,000 for computer. Okay, so that's a good example. I quit if you get, but she'll hear me in a minute. I better be nice. Let me let her in. That's my help, y'all. I gotta be nice. That's a really good question. Just because they said 3,000 for a computer, I would ask myself, does he need a computer? If you think he needs a computer, that's too much for a computer.
We have to, yes, but we were gonna buy it on our own.
Right, so that's a different. There's a lot of student deals.
But he has to have they have the specs of what kind for mechanical engineering.
Oh, I would.
It has to be a PC, and they gave all the programs have to be on it and all that.
What do they do? I bet you have to buy it from them, right?
Well, the student store doesn't sell computers, so I don't.
Wait. Are they saying where to buy it?
No, it just says that they have to have.
You can get it anywhere you want. I would take
right. But I was like, we were just going to pay for it ourselves and not add that to the plus loan.
Well, yeah, hey, last time I checked, this was a free country. I wouldn't pay it.
Right. Well, I was just wondering if that's,
sure, but the plus loan has about 45 things that are considered school expenses. And that's one of them. That's one of them, whether he's engineering or not. So you can use your plus loan funds for like 45 different things. It's a whole lot of stuff.
Right.
Generally, if it's for a computer, you can do it for a computer, for school. There's all kinds of things it can cover. But those are all the questions of how much should the plus loan be? That's an internal decision. It doesn't have to be for the full gap amount. Depends on the situation. But I always say if there's uncertainty, make it for the full gap the first year. Because you don't want to have to go back in the fall. It's really hard to. They're going to make you fill out so many forms to government.
And that's true because on the second year with my daughter, she realized she didn't need full meal plan, so a smaller one in her second year.
Oh, second year, yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. You might. Depends on the living situation. Depends. A lot of things change. It depends. It really does depend. So they suggest things on that financial award by implication, where they suggest things to you, but last time I checked, we got a free country. Like when they say, here's a book, they don't do the bookstore thing anymore. A lot of them got sued over that. But there's a lot of ways to save on books. I'll cover that during the next part of the sessions we have. That's a really popular one where you can save a lot of money. But they also estimate that very high, sometimes $2,000. But you're not going to spend that much. It's controllable cost. That's the idea. Where stuff on the bill, what are you going to do about it? Housing deposit. This is a pretty important slide here. We'll need to make this deposit right after acceptance. With all the FOFSA issues this year, listen to this. I talked to some housing people at 3 different schools this came up. There are fewer students, of course, that are going to, I don't know if you heard, that's a crisis for some schools. There are fewer students that are going to college this year because of the FAFSA situation. But they are enrolled, but the ones who are enrolling early, and they're out of town students. The out of town people are set, they're going. And they're grabbing that housing. So you can't wait too long at certain schools. You can wait a little while longer if you're June 1st, but I wouldn't wait too long. The amount ranges from $200 to $1,200, and there's no financial aid coverage on that first deposit. Sometimes it's combined, sometimes it's combined with the orientation deposit. Schools are doing that this year, combining those deposits. Note, CSU and UC require orientation for enrollment. In other words, if you miss the orientation sessions, they'll disenroll you. CSU is still going to do that, even though they have enrollment issues. That's how strongly they feel about it. So that's the thing. If you wait till June 1st, that orientation is really right behind the June 1st date. You got to really hustle and do both. So again, once you get that decision, right now it's May 5th. I wouldn't let these things go past May 10th, May 15th, maybe. I wouldn't. Students will usually be required to sign the rules for the rules of the campus. They'll slip that on you, students, and they'll bypass your parents. They're going to send you the rules of the campus. They'll require an electronic signature. And just want to let you know some of the high points of it, though I'm going to have a session with youth on the 26th of May. I'm going to go into detail about it. I'm going to have someone here that used to work housing, used to be an RA, that's going to tell you about these things. Because that's something that's in the news right now. There's several no tolerance rules. Drugs and drinking, obvious. Unauthorized visitors. This is one I had from last year. And when I saw it, I said, wow, I was telling people this. And I put it in parentheses. Interesting, huh? Racial and ethnic intolerance. So I have a young man that was put out of Lehigh University. His roommate was put out because he participated in some ethnic stirs of Jews. Listen, I didn't think I'd ever have to tell a group this. Be careful who you're hanging around. I have more to say about that on the 26th. And I've had this for years in my presentation. Racial and ethnic intolerance. I put interesting, huh? I added that because of the news. Stealing. And then here you go. Here's the one that shocks students. Not reporting to the school any of the above that your roommates are doing. Like if you know your roommates are selling drugs or using drugs, or if you know they're doing things that are intolerant, or you know they're stealing, and you just don't say anything, and their investigation reveals that you knew, you'll be suspended from the university. There's no tolerance for knowing about, and that's the stuff you're going to sign up for. And we'll talk more about that. Just be careful who you're around. It won't be a problem. It pops up sometimes on this program. Okay. Oops. I lost my sharing. I lost my sharing. There we go. Of course, it's all the way at the end. Toward the end anyway. All right, so the housing is where we were. All right. So a huge recommendation I have about housing. I'll get this out of the way here so you can see it. Do not live in a single or by yourself the first 2 years. I am seeing a lot more of that coming out of the pandemic. Students want to live alone and they come home. If you get this isolated feeling, you need to be with someone in a dorm your first year. It's a good experience for you. It's your first time living with people or being around people who weren't your friends. It's a great growth experience for you. Sometimes it's an adventure in tolerance. You might have to be with people who you don't approve. You don't necessarily approve of their actions, but you're going to learn to be tolerant. These are important career skills, important life skills. This is the part of my presentation that sometimes drives some of my moms crazy. I'm sorry. But we'll have more to say about that, but don't live by yourself. I think your first 2 years, I really don't want to see it at all. I think you really should be with someone that you see immediately every day. Schools make it easy. They'll have you have your own room, but you're in a common area. That's good because you'll see people. You actually see people. And I want you to see people, obviously. Okay. Quinn, can you put the presentation in the chat? If you're there,
Yeah,
Quinn.
1 second.
Great. Okay. Did I send it to you? No. Did I? Did I send it to you?
Yes, you did.
All right. So plan to attend the orientation on campus. Now, I made that ambiguous. I think parents and the youth should attend. When you attend the orientation, though, be ready. When you show up, they're going to rip your student from you like you're not even there. They're going to send you on your way. Now, in the parent meeting, I'll tell you what you should be doing during that orientation. They're definitely going to want to deal directly with your son or daughter. And that's a reminder about FERPA. I told you about FERPA. The students own their records. But here's the tricky part. Who can I get? I think Sister Jeffrey would be cool with this. Hey, Sister Jeffrey.
Yes.
Sister Regina, are you there?
Uh-oh. Yes, I'm here.
No, I mean, you don't laugh. You make me laugh. That's not fun. All right.
Like, oh, I'm in trouble. Go ahead, Deacon.
You're always so jolly. You make me laugh. So listen, when you were in high school, when she was in high school, who do you think owned the school records?
When
She was in high school, when she's in high school now.
her school, I guess. Or
No, you.
Me. Yeah, me.
State of California says you
Me.
own it.
Yes.
If you go over to that school and they say you can't have it, I'm gonna get you a lawyer.
Yeah.
All right. Now in college, who owns the records?
Oh. So I wouldn't be able to get a copy.
Wait. Answer that.
They do, I guess.
Nope.
No, Izzy
Don't
does.
say they, be specific.
Izzy
owns the records.
owns.
Who pays for college?
Ooh.
Who pays? Come on.
The parents pay for it, but the
All
child.
right.
Oh boy.
So guess what that requires? And I'm gonna talk to them. I'll say something about it today, but it requires transparency by the student. And I'm gonna talk about
that honesty
with both of you, with both parents and youth separately, because there needs to be some agreement, some conversations with the young adult. I call them young adults now, because it's their records. And the school, you might say, well, I'm gonna sign that form, and I'm getting those records. I know some of you parents here really well. It's too bad. I know some of y'all too well. It's too bad.
So we could be paying for them and not see that they're failing, is what you're saying.
Woo! That's the reason for this part of the meeting.
Okay.
Now, check this out. If I were you, I wouldn't fill out the FAFSA for next year until I saw all the grades.
You say that one more time? No.
I'll say it again. I wouldn't do a 25, 26 FAFSA unless I saw every single grade. Now, here's what the school might say, and what the people will tell you. Oh, just fill out this form. You'll see, they'll be required to give you the grades. But the question is when? They won't post grades until April or March. So you won't know that. I get that call every year. I found out my students failed, and they didn't fail until May. They failed the first semester.
Wow.
So no corrective action could be taken, and now they're on probation. So what does all this mean? And I didn't say this today. There needs to be conversations that occur and transparency. And we haven't even gotten into the health and the HIPAA, which if you don't do anything, they own the health records while in college. Usually this part of the meeting is, I can hear everybody's brain. I'm not even in person. I can hear all the brains. So we'll have more to say about that. And that's why my sessions that I'm gonna have with youth And I'm gonna give the schedule today because I've come up with the schedule finally. And that's why those sessions are important, but also why your sessions will be important as well. Because I've learned from experience that I need to make sure that information gets out there. Schools are not good at it. I'll tell you ways to get around HIPAA and FERPA that are quite legal, but mostly involves transparency, your student wanting to share with you what's going on. And remember that I'm still around to help if there's a problem. All right. I guess, thank you, Sister Jeffrey, for being helpful to
Well, thank you for sharing all that information.
be getting that out there. Yeah. I think everybody, there's some other people that are happy I did that too. Plan to attend the orientation on campus. Usually it's mandatory for youth and often for parents. There's a couple schools require for parents. A parent or parents. It usually costs $200 to $400 plus travel. The travel's the big part, right? Registration for classes usually begins at orientation. I have a lot more to say about that at another meeting. Advisors and departments are usually visited, and students usually overnight on the campus. Sometimes not. Some of these CSUs, it's just that day and you go back. Some private schools too. Okay, then there's applying for loans. I don't really get into a lot. Well, you'll see what I do. I think it's going to be helpful to you because loans are going to be part of your life. I mean, in ways you haven't considered probably that I wouldn't normally consider unless somebody told me. All right. When you're comparing college costs, this is the way you're going to do it, right? Tuition, room and board, minus the total financial aid for 1 year, minus the parent loans, minus the work study, you get your total cost. That's how you know what your gap is. We usually call it the gap. Before I get to, so we're talking about how gap management, how to pay off that gap. You owe money for college. Now, how are you going to pay it off? Okay. Students should pay or owe something for their college education. They'll receive something of lifelong value. They should pay. They are or then become more motivated to complete college as fast as possible. I mean, if everything is paid for, what's the motivation? Okay. Many times parents, so student loan is one way you do that. And many times parents regret their own student loans and they do not want their youth to have loans. You can pay the, but remember, they didn't have parent loans then. So they're real big loans for you then, maybe. But now they have a parent loan, you probably pick up some anyway. So it's only fair they pay something. They don't want their youth to have loans. I understand that. Yeah, okay. You can pay their loans or pay the additional cost in cash, but it's up to you. But remember, take their $5,500 loan, and that's an extra $5,500 on your loan, or that you'll have to spend. It's not like the college will take back the loan and give you money. It's not like that. They consider it part of your financial aid award. Like they'll swear you got $5,500 financial aid. If that was the only one you got, they'll say you got that as aid.
Hey, Deacon,
Yeah.
for the student loans, that $5,500. So once you accept, I guess, your financial package, is that like a check given to them? How is that allocated to the
I'm
student?
getting to that. Yes.
Oh, okay. They'll
They'll never see it. They'll never see it.
Oh, okay.
But there is a time they could see money. I'm gonna make sure I mention that and tell you what you do about it in a minute.
Okay. Thank
Monthly
you.
student loan payment is manageable if the students plan a sustainable career independent of their major. An adult, quotation on both, life plan, that's what I'm gonna cover with them in their sessions, right? Is needed to allow loans to be repaid. You consider my sessions insurance because I'm gonna give them good information on how to plan their life in their early stages of adulthood. Because they're really adults. When you start saying things like it's their records and they can drive, they can vote, they're leaving high school, they're leaving your house. Even though you're paying, they're now young adults. And you want them to be responsible, especially now. Most of them are, but you want them as responsible and knowledgeable as they can be to save your investment. Here's some direct student loan information that Sister Harrington was asking about. The loan is an entitlement program. You just activate it. There's no application. It's given by every Congress. Students can take out student loans. It's a federal loan. Maximum of $27,000 for the 4 years, all of college. Most students don't get to that 27. If you look in the weeds in here, you can see that's true in a moment. It's $5,500 for year one. It's a simplified version here. $6,500 for year two, $7,500 for years 3 and 4. Now the question was, do they get a check? No, it goes directly to their direct cost. It goes to pay the direct cost for college. So this goes to pay the direct cost for college. And most times, cleverly, the financial aid award never exceeds the direct cost. Therefore, you'll never see these as checks. In fact, they're transferred to the school by electronic banking. It goes into the school sometime in the summer, which brings me to the next point. If you don't activate that student loan, they'll be sending you procedures on it. Perhaps I'll do a video on it too. I'll do a video on it, send it out. If you don't activate that loan by about June, maybe 1st, they start freaking out in the schools, especially Black schools. They count on getting that federal money. So that's $5,500 for each student usually. And that's money from the federal government because it's a federal loan. So you want to get that loan activated as soon as possible. But you never really see it. Now, there is a time where they could see it, parents, Sister Cherie, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. They could see some money, and you may want to close that off. If a student does not activate it, you will pay $5,500 to $7,500 extra per year. Colleges make it part of the financial aid award, and it lowers the expense budget. Any scholarships sent to the college, if say they get a scholarship, scholarships are often sent directly to the college. They're not given to the student. It's first applied to lower the loans. It doesn't go to the student as a refund. It goes to on their student account. If there's nothing owed, it goes to pay off the student loans. That's a federal law. The financial aid office has to allow the bursar to get that money. So any scholarship. Now, if you have a sponsorship, like we do, we offer sponsorships. We don't do scholarships in our program. We think it's a very wasteful activity. We want to give a student some money. Our trustee board got together and said, give them some money. Okay. So that's a bunch of people getting together, deciding to give somebody some money. That's called it might have rules to it, right? That's called the sponsorship. And those can be given directly to the student or to the parent. On our program, we ask the parent and the student who it should go to. But we do not send it to the school. Now, sometimes students tell us to send it to the school. That's a different issue. Or they'll tell us to do it because there's a matching loan. There's a matching scholarship program with the school, right? So they want us to send it so the school can match it. That happens in Christian schools a lot. Any questions on that? Sometimes there's questions on this. The answer is part of your question, Sister Cherie. That's part of it, right?
Yes. The second half was, how do the students activate the loans?
Aha, I didn't include it here. It's a studentloan.gov is the site. It's the same login as their FAFSA. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on that. I think it deserves a separate consideration. And I'll put that out in the next 3 days. So I want them to do it by June 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds like you buy into my argument that they should pay something for college.
Oh yeah, I definitely think they should have some skin in the game.
Okay.
I paid for all of my college. I took out loans. I had to pay
Well,
everything back. And so I just feel as though there needs to be some ownership there. So I'm definitely in agreement with that.
Yeah, me too. I think the internet's been throwing people out of here. So if you get out, just come right back in. I'll let you right back in. Let's see what other questions we have out there. How do students activate? Oh yeah, that's the same question. Good. Okay, the presentation's in the chat to everybody. Okay, thank you, Quinn. All right, we covered the loan. Okay, the two types of student direct loans, How about that? Subsidized loans, the interest is paid by the feds while the student is in college, all 4 years. Interest does accrue 6 months after they leave college. You might notice I didn't put graduation. It says if you stop out or leave school temporarily, 6 months, that loan starts, you start one of the payments. So you guess if you stop out, you owe for your loan still. There's the first year loans again. Second, third, fourth. These are the subsidized loans. Then the unsubsidized loans are $2,000 each year. That's why it's $5,500 the first year. Now, the subsidized loans have a tiny interest. It's so small. I think Congress voted to be 0.6%. So it's about 30 or 40 bucks, I think, per year. The unsubsidized loans, there they are, $2,000 each year for 5 years, up to 5 years, plus an additional $4,000 per year that the plus loan is rejected. So if your parent loan is rejected, they get an additional $4,000 in student loan. That's how you get to the 27. Okay, but really, 19,000 is usually 19 to 22 is what I usually see. That's about $300 a month for 3.5 years to be eligible for forgiveness. It actually is not the new forgiveness, it's just the forgiveness we always had. But you can restructure your loans at any time. But $300 a month, if a student can't pay that, there's something that happened in the 4 years of college, something that didn't happen that should have happened. The maximum subsidized loan is shown there. That's getting down in the weeds, like I said. All right, here's the monthly student direct loan table. Like I said, if it's a $20,000 loan, that's usually what I see. It's about $287 a month. That's if it's 5.5% after they leave school. That's what we're estimating it will be. It hasn't been set by Congress for this group yet. You can see the total interest and what they'd have to pay. That's why a lot of students, even when they're in school in the no interest period, remember there's no interest while they're in school, they go ahead and start making principal payments. I've seen that more often than ever before. It makes it easier when they get out. But again, $300 a month, I think if you can't make that payment, there's something that didn't happen in college. That's even if they have to go to medical school or go on to some other school. They should have been skills acquired. This is why, again, another reason why my meetings will be important. I'll talk about alternate skills. For example, I think every student in the current environment should know how to do the following things. They should know how to bust a website. They should know how to set up what do you call those boards? I think they should definitely know how to set up a website. Let's leave it at that. A blog, set up a blog too. They're pretty easy to do. They should gain that skill while they're in college. Most colleges offer those classes, maybe for no credit or 1 credit, but they get it. That's an important skill. Secondly, they should know how to use all of the Microsoft suite. They should know how to use PowerPoint, Word. These are important skills to have alongside a degree. They should get jobs different types of jobs where they're challenged to be on time and know how to respond to authority. These are all important things. And then here's a new thing I think they should learn. They should learn the details of how to use ChatGPT, AI. They should learn how to use that to get information and help them think faster. I use it now. I use it to help me think about how I was going to do the summer programs this year. And it gave me some great ideas that happened because I could accelerate my thinking about them using that thing as a tool. Never thought I would say that and learn how to use ChatGPT. How will you pay the remaining direct costs for college? This is one of my favorite slides in here. I used to make it 18 different ways to do it. I don't know why I stopped doing that, but anyway. Operating cash. These are the things you should think about before you go to a parent loan. Operating cash. If you are now paying for high school, you have a clue how much cash you could actually pay. Loans against your 403B or your 401K. Don't withdraw. Don't make withdrawal your first option. You should do loans against it first and pay back yourself every time you make a payment to your 401K. Some of it goes to your loan. That way you keep your 401K. Retirement fund withdrawals, I don't advise it, but it's also something you need to consider. Maybe you should pay the penalty and do the retirement withdrawal. Relatives, I highly advise against this. Please don't count on relatives to pay direct costs. It often backfires. I could tell you stories, but usually it borders around the relative expecting something from you if they do that. And that's not a good situation for you to be in. So I advise against relatives paying. Now, sometimes it's a grandmother who saved up money for it and they have it available. But in general, I don't think it works out too well. Major reductions in home costs or your income. This is my favorite one. Reducing your home costs and adding income to create money to put down to put into the school and lower your parent loan. It's all about lowering your parent loan. You'll see why in a minute. The parent loan is called a plus loan. The parent loan for undergraduate students. Additional direct loan, I remind you, the student will get if your plus loan is denied. But of course, that could really be a problem if you count on the parent loan, you don't get it. You know, that could be a problem. I'll see if I included a view graph on that. I think I did. Yeah, things to remember about plus loans. Remember, you may have to do it 4 or 5 years. Plus loan table, I'll cover in a minute. Commercial credit check each year. You'll be rejected if there's a bankruptcy, a mortgage default, tax lien, repo, or more than $2,085 in charge-off debt or delinquencies. The interest rate is 8 to 9%. I should have said here, either parent can take the loan out. Now, with the new processes, step parents can officially take out loans. Used to be they could not. Now they can take out loans for students. The loan needed might get smaller each year. It depends on the youth campus engagement. How is that student engaging on the campus? This is another thing they'll learn from my sessions. If they get engaged on that campus and get involved in working for programs on the campus that will pay part of the tuition, the loan can get smaller. Or if they make friends and that they can live with, 3 to a house, sometimes they get a house, they cut their living costs by up to 60%. And now the parent can get a smaller plus loan. And sometimes, like me, with my daughter, her senior year, I didn't even need the parent loan. She was working on program board at George Washington, and she was living with 2 other people. I didn't have to take out the parent loan. She could handle it herself. So these things happen, but you got to work close together, and students have to get a great start with this self-empowerment model we have. Here's the parent loan table right now. I just updated it. I presented it a couple weeks ago too. There's your typical CSU 4 years, your typical UC. The CSU one is on the wrong level. It's probably more like 45 or 40, but it's still going to be $600 a month. It could be up to 10 years depending on how you pay it back. I accelerated my plus loan payments. I had it for the second year for my daughter. I accelerated the payments. Then I got a bonus and it's gone. UC, here's the UC. UC is going to run you, there's where it's at, your typical HBCU for 4 years. And it goes on and on. You see how long that chart goes. You could get into $500,000 total paid if you owe $350,000. Say you have 5 years and you're paying into it every year, $40 or $50,000. You could owe $300,000 at the end of 4 or 5 years. It's possible. Okay, this is one of the last charts. So obviously you want to start now to plan on finishing college. The facts. Colleges, it should be now, I'm so sorry. Maybe we'll correct that. Colleges now have a 41.9% dropout rate. Stop and think about that. This is the people who don't finish in 6 years and or don't return. 24% of students nationwide drop out after the freshman year. This is another reason that our programs and preparation program will be helpful to your student. I'll give you the schedule on the next slide. That's why we have a college success preparation sessions upcoming. Here's the most common current reasons for stop out. Funding is cut off, cost burnout. Now, I don't see those in our program as much. Lack of academic preparation, academic difficulties, social disconnection, which is why I was concerned about living in a single place, without having roommates. I think the pandemic produced kids that are more likely to do that now, but I don't like to see that. Lack of involvement, self-isolation, etc. Medical or mental health issues. There's some lingering issues that could be a problem in college. Excessive political and social activism. This one is a very common one in my program. Students lose interest in school. And this was on my list from, before what's going on the campuses now. But I have a lot of situations where students lose interest in school because of political and social activism. It's some professor gets in their brain, and like you heard about all the professors that were arrested at UCLA the other day. I think it was 22 college professors that were out there encampments and shouting stuff they shouldn't be. Let's leave it at that. So these college professors are very persuasive. Family issue, and again, that's something I'm going to talk about to both youth and parents. Family issues and circumstances is another common reason for stop out. Generally, if things are a problem today, they'll be a problem in college. You should act accordingly. Now I see a lot of, well, I won't say much more here. I better just leave it alone. But I see a lot of students that should be local to college because of some of these things here. They need to be local. And parents, you know your students, you know how they are. And maybe they should be local for some of these reasons here. All right, here we go. I have a special youth-only session on Sunday, May 26th at 5:30. I am hoping to surprise you and announce it could be in person, but I have not got confirmation I'll be using the Family Life Center day, that particular day yet. I know I'm going to have it late in May. That's all I know. If not, we'll just do it online. Here's the youth college transition success sessions, which I do anticipate will be in person. Saturday, June 22nd, 10 to 2:30. That's my longest session. That allows me to cut out the shorter sessions I usually have. I'm going to have lunch I'm going to give lunch that day and have a social time with the students. It'll be really nice. I'm trying to do something really special. I like to have it on the outside somewhere. Quinn, that would be cool, wouldn't it? Anyway, June 29th, 10 a.m. to 11:15. That's a very short session. See what we do there. July 13th, 10 to 1 p.m. This ain't high school. I'm going to have a special guest speaker. Dr. Corliss Bennett is going to speak to our, she's a well-known motivational speaker. She's going to help your student with the transition to high school. I need students to attend that. She's terrific. It's almost, if you miss my sessions, you got to see hers. She's incredible. Saturday the 27th, I'm going to have my life confirmation ceremony. It'll be a short ceremony, probably only go a little over an hour. I'll put 11:30, but I don't think so. We're going to get the students together. I'll have a special speaker, and we're going to pray for them as they go off to college, that they'll do well and that they'll be successful and prosperous while they're in college. That'll be on the 27th, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m. in the morning. Okay.